Hello, good morning. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming to this Energy Day today. I know for some of you it's difficult to come here from abroad, especially from the UK, Denmark, and yeah. So thank you very much for coming. So this session, it's a bit different as the previous one for the attendees that maybe in the past were attending our Dexma days back in the other years. We have prepared this session just to make a bit aware all the people of the upcoming news and events and regulatory needs of the energy sector. So it's kind of an event to give you some insights about how it's going to be the future of the energy market in Spain and in Europe. Okay. So first of all, thank you for coming. Don't be shy. If you want to take seats in the front row, it's perfect. So don't worry. We are not evil. And thank you also the City Hall and the Museu Blau for giving us the opportunity to make the venue here, especially this room, which is called Ramon Margalef, one of the first ecologists in Catalonia, in Catalan, and one of the first people who took information systems and mathematical algorithms to apply to ecology and sustainability. So very adequate to be here in this room of digitalization and energy sector. So yeah, thank you for coming. I will introduce Elodie, my colleague, who will be the driver of the event and will present all the speakers, and I hope you enjoy the sessions. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, so welcome, as Xavi said. A pleasure to see you all today. We've been organizing this event for several months, hoping that many people from all Europe could join us. So that's a pleasure, as Xavi said, to see you from the UK, from Denmark, from a lot of places, and from here, of course, as well. So we have a wonderful lineup today. Very pleased to announce that we will be talking about energy trends, energy regulations, both at an international scale, but as well locally, because it's important as well here for the Spain situation that we have regulations, normatives, directives. So that will be a complete, let's say, focus on all the energy efficiency sector and trends, okay? So we will start today with Pablo Dorronsoro, pardon? Okay, oof. He's a state lawyer and member of Ernst & Young, and he will be talking about the future and trends in European regulations. So please, Pablo, welcome.
Perfecto. ¿Dónde está? Okay, perfect. So thank you all for coming, and thank you, of course, to Sparewell for having me here. I'm delighted to be with you in these surroundings with this very interesting session. In my case, what we were talking about, we're preparing this, is to give you a little overview of the most important issues that we are seeing around these months from the regulatory perspective. It will be a very high-level review, of course, because these are very detailed, but in the next moments we can perhaps delve more in detail on some of them. No? Basically, we have thought that it would be interesting to talk about basically four things. Okay, the first one, we will be very quick on this to give you a little bit on the context, what is basically how all these pieces fit into the puzzle, which is Fit for 55 within Europe. Then we will talk a little bit about one of the most important developments that we are seeing right now in the market, which is the proposal for the reform of the electricity market. As you know, and after the COVID and the Ukraine war, there's been some talk and some initiatives about modifying the way in which the market for electricity works in Europe in order to be able to attract all the investments that we need for the green energy transition. Then we will talk about basically the new renewable energy directive that has been just approved, but it's not yet published. And we'll give you a couple of hints about hydrogen, about fiscal adjustments on carbon, and then lastly we'll talk a little bit about energy efficiency with the directive that was published last 20 September, and we will talk a little bit about this principle, which is energy efficiency first, which is one of the hallmarks of all the regulation in this regard. No? So basically, just to give you a little bit of background, we all know this. This started quite a long ago, in the Kyoto Protocol, 1999. Then in the Paris Agreement, 2015, European Union was very ambitious, setting very strong objectives. Of course, the situation in that moment was quite different from this today. We had very low inflation, very low interest rates. We have a strong growth in European markets. We also had EPC prices for PV, for wind going down, and we finally were able to make PV competitive at a grid scale, so no subsidies, no help from the state was needed in order to be able to implement this energy. So this gave a way to a boom. No? Of course, this has changed a little bit right now. We'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. With this, the European Union really took the leading role throughout the globe in order to establish, this green revolution, this green energy transition, this green energy New Deal, and this is the most complex regulatory package that has been done by the European Union in all its history. No? You can see in the graph, basically, we have about 16 legislative processes. They tackle the green transition from many different points of view, from as we say, carbon trading schemes, from energy efficiency, from buildings, from renewable energy, all the different aspects in which green transition should be tackled. We have a proposal or a regulation that's been negotiated at the European level. However, in this moment, once these objectives were set, then we had, some issues that really changed the picture a little bit. No, the first one was the COVID, and not only the COVID as a problem itself, because as a matter of fact, it was considered by the European Union as an opportunity to double the bet on the renewables. As you remember, there was a 750 billion aid fund that was to be devoted, at least in a third part, to energy transition and also to digital, etc. No? So it was, a good opportunity to keep on doing the energy transition. However, the fact that the COVID recovery was a little bit faster than expected, the fact that there were not investments during the COVID moments that could prepare the market in order to tackle for the new demand that was coming through, made that the prices went quite up. In the graph, I don't know if we see it very well, but you can see in December 2021, therefore 4 months earlier to the invasion of Ukraine, we reached a peak of 400 euros megawatt. This was completely unheard of. The best estimations that we had in the first quarter of 2021 talked about a maximum in the worst case scenario price of 120 euros megawatt hour, and now we had 400. No? This was made even worse by the Ukraine invasion, as you know, the shortages on the fuel and the gas, and the fact that we depend on the gas to set the prices because we have a marginal market in the energy, so we reached nearly 500 euros per megawatt. And then no government in Europe is able to catch up with this with their population, so member states started issuing regulation that was disaligned, that was fit for perhaps national needs, but had effects elsewhere, that it was not decided on a European level and independent on the fiscal capacity of the states. So it was very different in Germany, in Spain, in Romania, in other countries. So this was perhaps unavoidable, but this made a very important mess. And a lot of voices started raising up, discussing about is this the kind of market that we need in order to foster the green transition, or should we do something about it? Is acceptable to have marginality prices in a market in which most of the technologies that will be selling energy into the market have a zero marginal cost? Or perhaps this is a kind of market that was designed for that kind of technologies and not for renewables, and therefore we have to change. There were quite a lot of proposals on this. One's more aggressive, the other one's more conservative, but the fact is that the proposal, as it is now, really combines the marginal mechanism which exists with some ways in which we try to give a little bit of stability, a little bit to reduce the volatility in the market, especially for consumers, but also having the effect to being able to attract all the investments that we need to foster the green transition. No? This proposal is still being discussed. The trilogues have started right now, but we'll have, during the coming years, a final energy package that will modify regulations and directives, setting the new regulations, the new rules for the electricity market. In what we see right now, and this of course can change because negotiations are still open, we consider the proposal is quite positive. First, because it maintains the marginality, which is a successful way of setting the price in this kind of markets. It's also interesting because it gives a little bit of support to small and medium enterprises and also to small consumers, because states are asked to establish schemes, national schemes, in order to provide guarantees that they need in order to enter into PPAs. So the PPA, these future contracts to gain stability on the price of energy, will be much more easy to enter into when the regulation is approved. We also have very good impressions about the flexibility mechanism. Marginality in the early days was criticized precisely by the renewable producers, because they fear that when all renewables are producing at the same time, the price goes to zero, and therefore investments are made completely uneconomical, and so it was a problem for them. No? Of course, this changed completely with the crisis, and they were receiving a high, as called, with for profit for the investments. But the fact is that this has to be more or less stabilized, and this can be done through stability mechanism. Capacity payments that are frequent in other member states will still are given in this regulation, and as a matter of fact, the member states shall consider if they need such capacity mechanism. And in general, the sector considers that this is the big opportunity for storage in power. No? Also, the CFCs will be only applicable for new plants, and that was quite a polemic discussion around this. And also, it's important that the regulations describe what is to be considered an energy crisis. It will be decided on the EU level, and there will be specific measures that can be adopted on a EU-wide approach on this. So we will no longer have different solutions in different member states according to the fiscal capacity of the states. Together with this, I would also want to talk about the Renewable Energy Directive that just been approved. It's still pending publication on the European Journal. This is, again, shows the ambition of the European Union more or so. We have raised our objectives from 32% to 42.5%, with a possible top-up of 2.5%. So basically, we are putting nearly 13 percentage points more of final energy consumption derived from renewables. So this is a big bet by the European Union setting these objectives. It's also very interesting what they do about hydrogen. They set objectives according to which in hydrogen that is used right now, that is produced right now, at least 40% of this shall be derived from green energy in 2030 and 60% in 2035. So this means that there will be a lot of input, a lot of stress, a lot of support for hydrogen in the coming years. No? Especially, it's also, and perhaps you have heard about this, about the hydrogen auction and the hydrogen banking, which is basically the response for the European government to the Inflation Reduction Act that the United States is moving forward. Basically, what the auction foresees is to award 800 million in grants for the production of hydrogen with a maximum price of 4.5 euros per kilogram produced. There is a lot of expectations on this auction. Of course, it's the first one, and the European Hydrogen Bank considers that there will be more auctions in the future. So this could be perhaps what the hydrogen sector needs in order to fill in the gap between the real price of the green hydrogen, which is quite high, and the cost and the price that the consumers are willing to pay for this hydrogen today. No? It's also interesting to talk about the carbon border adjustment mechanism, which is basically a mechanism by which the European Union wants to establish a level playing field for producers of high-intensity energy products. For example, steel, for example, porcelain. There's a number of them that are high energy users, and for them, the competition with other countries that do not impose carbon prices, carbon trading schemes, or carbon taxes, it's unfair. So what this regulation aims is to level the playing fields, and therefore to impose on those importing products some taxes on the frontier in order to make European production more competitive. It is starting right now. It's the first tranche will last until December 2025, but it's an interesting development, and it's also very well received by the sectors. Just a little bit of information of what are we doing in Spain right now regarding the investments that were compromised or the objectives set in the PNIEC. We are on track, as you see in the diagram. We are increasing about 4 gigas of green energy each year from year to year. 4.2, 4.6, more or less is more or less the same. We have right now in the mix 68% of the energy coming is renewable. We were asked by our compromises to set 74% by 2030, so it's quite clear that we will be able to do it in that, to be able to fulfill this compromise. The PNIEC is being revised. It's been even more ambitious. However, the big issue here will be: will the sector be able to, to bring into reality all this number of green investment plans and facilities that are in process? As you may know, we have in Spain more or less 43 gigas of projects that are being processed right now, and we have just about 75 gigas existing in the grid right now. So really, it's a big improvement. There is a lot of capacity being injected into the market in the coming years. If all projects are going to be successful, let's see what happens. There's a royal decree there establishing some milestones, and there is a lot of talk in the market about if the government will extend these milestones or not for construction, because we are also seeing prices in the EPC market going up, a limitation on the number of EPC contractors that are able to build projects. So we are heading to interest times in the coming months. It's also to know the issue about the PERTEs. We are still waiting for a lot of them to develop and to be awarded and to be implemented in practice. No? But we are in general in a very good situation, and with high expectations of fulfilling the promise of the energy transition also here in Spain. And then going to energy, the energy efficiency directive, it's also, the conference was very well timed. We have just been served with this energy efficiency directive. It was published 20 September, and it's quite an important step forward for energy efficiency in general in the regulator. We'll talk about this in a minute. You can see in these two graphs, although I don't know if the colors are right for them, but basically in the first one, what you see is the way in which implementation and reduction of energy consumption is met by the states. Depends a lot on fiscal capacity and a lot of the moment in which they entered in the European Union, because we have a stronger regulation. So basically, there is a little bit, of mismatch between different states. And the other one is the graph distributing the energy sectors by savings. You will see there that basically transport is the one that has reduced less the energy consumption. Then we have buildings and services that are more close to it, but underway, and industry is the most advanced in that regard, with nearly a 25% reduction of energy consumption. No? So there has been a lot of steps taken into this area, but still there is a lot of work to do. And precisely for this, the Energy Efficiency Directive establishes for the first time as a legal principle this energy efficiency first principle, which means that you have to put the utmost consideration in energy efficiency, in policy, in investment decisions, in planning, in order to consider if you would be able to reach the same objectives in this that this planning, policies and investments are pursuing, with a cost-effective energy saving or energy efficiency solution. So this is nowadays a given in the regulation of the European Union, in the regulation of the member states. So it's an obligation in energy and non-energy sectors to take into consideration this energy first principle, efficiency first principle. This means that, for example, it will be a legal request for all projects that goes over 100 million euros, 175 if it's transport infrastructure. But what we consider is that this means that the energy efficiency principle will be much more applicable, much more taken into account in all the regulations of the European Union, and we can expect more requirements and more consideration on energy efficiency throughout the different activities that the economy carries out. So this is I believe good news, and let's see how this goes forward. No? The directive also establishes new objectives that are, of course, more ambitious than the past ones. We jump from 9% to 11.7% on energy savings, and we have an objective of final energy consumption of 992, which is a million of equivalent tons, which is basically a reduction compared to 2005 levels of 24 or 34%, depending on the measurement you take into account. So this is again quite ambitious principles. It is true that this is a directive, and therefore what the directive says is the objectives that the European Union as a whole must establish, but it also says that member states must prepare and present their plans in order to be aligned with these objectives. So there will be differences. I mean, it doesn't mean that it will be 11.7% for every state, but all member states have to be more or less aligned with this. The directive is a very long one. It's very complex. We perhaps can talk about it later, but I would like to point out some interesting issues. No? First, regarding energy management systems and energy audits, the obligations for both are extended. So nowadays, all enterprises or consumers, independent if they are small or medium or they are big enterprises, they will have, if they consume more than 10 terajoules, to present energy audits according to the regulations. And for enterprises that are consuming more than 85 terajoules, they will have to present to have energy management schemes. So this is a big push forward. They need to advance on this also. No? The directive also establishes the obligation for the member states to ensure quality and a more or less an harmonized approach on the profession of of energy efficiency professionals. So they are able to give more or less the same services. They establish some regulations on heating and cooling because they aim to have a fully decarbonized heating and cooling by 2050, which will be a big change. And also it's interesting to note how the public sector is considered to be one of the leaders of these changes, no? And therefore some measurements are applied especially for the states. There should be basically increase their energy savings in 1.9%, and also they will have to renew their buildings at a 3% ratio per annum, and these renovations will be close to net zero or energy neutral buildings. So this is again there are some exceptions for historical buildings, etc. But this is more or less the regulations that will apply for the states, because the European Union wants the states to be the leaders of this push through to energy efficiency. Of course, this is still a directive. As you know, with directives, as different with regulations, member states have the obligation to fulfill the objectives, but have some liberty, some degree of liberty on how these objectives are met, and therefore there can be variations between states. However, it's true that from some time to today, directives are more and more detailed and leave less and less way to the states in order to disperse the regulations. But still, we'll have to see how this will be implemented in the near future in Spain. No? So basically, this is more or less everything I wanted to talk about. Happy to answer questions, I guess afterwards. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Pablo. Grabbing this. Thank you. For other questions, guys, we will have a session, a Q&A session, just after all the speakers have given their presentations. All right? So we will follow next with Guillermo López, technical advisor for energy efficiency of the Ministry for Energy Transition. And he will be speaking more particularly about trends in the energy market in Spain, new energy savings certificates, right? CAEs, what we call CAEs here. And welcome, and this is yours.
Vale, esto es para avanzar. Así, ¿no? Vale. Con eso se avanza. Vale, gracias. Okay. Bon dia, good morning. Okay, today I'm going to speak about the what we call in Spain the system of the energy saving certificates, but it's known everywhere as white certificates. Okay, so it's the same. White certificates in Spain are Sistema CAES, we say, CAES system. And first of all, I would like to explain why this is really important for us. And perhaps this is in relation with Pablo told before about the energy efficiency first principle, which I will reward in perhaps more aggressive words. I don't drink gas oil, I don't plug my fingers into the socket, I don't need energy. What I need is products and services, not energy. So it's irrelevant if I spend 1,000 euros in energy supply for any product and service, or if I spend the same amount of money, 1,000 euros, to save energy to obtain these products or these services, as far as the products and the services are the same. At least in a first approach, from the economic point of view, the decision is what's cheaper. But this is something incredible, but it's true. The energy and the non-energy, the energy saving is the same. I just want products and services to be warm at home, or if I have a factory to produce pencils, for instance. No? So if we consider that energy is more or less the same that save energy when I'm providing services or manufacturing products, the point is how to measure the energy saving and the cost of the energy saving. And perhaps this is the key issue of this white certificate system. We have developed perhaps the not perhaps, we have developed the most transparent and precise Bible, let's say, to measure energy savings. And for doing so, we have been based on the French system, which is, as far as we know, the first country which introduced the white certificate systems many years ago, and they are working very well. Of course, we have been based also in the measuring systems that we use in the subsidies, for instance. Of course, we have used the former and obviously the current Energy Efficiency Directive and the Annex 5, which explains the four methods to measure energy savings. And there's also some report, about 80 pages, explaining how to do so. And there are going to be, we are waiting for more explanation from the European Commission on this issue. And the key element to measure these energy savings are the sheets we're going to see afterwards. And the sheets are based on logical and simple formulas. In France, they did it in another way because they spent like 3 years taking measures and making tables in order to relate the parameters of an energy efficiency action with an energy saving. But we didn't know that, and we didn't have 3 years to do that. So we established formulas, and at the end we are quite happy with them because everyone understands them. They are public. Everybody can propose another thing or propose to improve the formula or whatever. And then the basic idea is to relate after the formula a typical annual performance with the former situation of the plant, of the building, or whatever, or in other cases with the minimum regulation. And then we relate the parameters of the action, the square meters, the degree days of that particular zone, the power of the heat pump, whatever. We put all these parameters in the formula, and then we calculate the energy saving. Okay, we have a new, in the web of the ministry, we have a new department, which is that one, just only related to white certificates, to the KS system. We have these 4 chapters. First, a general presentation of the white certificates, the KS system. What is a certificate? What's the origin of the system? Who are the parties that can play in that system? How is the process to issue a certificate, or who can buy a certificate? How to settle a certificate? The system. We also have links to some in Spanish. Everything is in Spanish. We have some presentations, some videos where we explained some months ago the system. We have also an email contact because we are trying to be very transparent and very permeable, very open in this system with companies, citizens, everybody. Then we have also a chapter with regulation, more than that, but this is the principal regulation. The first 2 pieces, legal pieces, are the decree that was issued at the beginning of this year explaining the system. And then the last July, we issued an order with additional regulation, but these 2 pieces explain the system. And then also in July, we issued an order with the catalog of standard energy efficiency actions that are subject to generate white certificates, to generate energy saving certificates, KS certificates. There is a quite brand new chapter with procedures and forms. Now we are in the process when we are accrediting verifiers, because when you perform an energy efficiency action, you need to verify. And the public administration, we don't verify that the action is correct. There are private verifiers that need to be accredited by ANAC, the Spanish national body in charge of these kind of things. There are also, because we'll see later, but there are obliged parties who need to buy these white certificates, these certificates. but they can delegate the obligation in other parties that fulfill some requirements. So here is the process also to accreditate the delegated parties. It's not open yet, but it will be in the next days, the process to request a white certificate issue. Then a model for delegation, contract communication, an example of a covenant. The covenant is the document that have to sign the owner of the saving with the obliged party in order to generate the white certificate and so on. And we have also a chapter with frequently asked questions that we made up, but we think that are the typical questions that the market should have about this new tool. Okay, this is not the official way that we explain the white certificate system in Spain in the degree, but we think that it's perhaps quite clear to understand. We have like two separate markets, one primary market and one secondary market linked to the issuing and settlement of white certificates. In the primary market, I'm going to start with the product. The product are energy saving and the supporting documentation that prove that that energy saving is real and is the result of an energy efficiency action. The market is open, is not regulated, is bilateral between the owner of the saving and those who want to buy that saving and the supporting document. Although we note that apart from being in principle bilateral, there are some private electronic platforms that are in fact marketplaces that put in contact owners of the savings with verifiers and obliged and delegated parties. Well, the offer are the energy saving owners. If I have a building, I have, for instance, a hotel, and I perform a new insulation in the envelope, I'm the owner of the energy saving. The demand are the obliged party, for instance, the electricity companies, the oil and gas companies, or their delegates. But there are many times there are intermediates. Why? Because if I live in a building with apartments, I don't have the capacity to manage all these things. So, for instance, the engineering company who is doing so, the renovation of the building, or the one-stop shop that is managing all these things, can intermediate between the community of neighbors and the obliged party. And the price is free, although there is one reference we will see later, and the reference is the financial equivalence. I will explain later because it will be quicker. Well, this is the primary market. When I'm an obliged party and I have everything, I can enter in the secondary market. The secondary market is closed only if you are an obliged party or a delegate party, official, namely energy companies, some of energy companies. I can enter in this market and I can ask for issuing a white certificate, which is the product of this secondary market. I have all this documentation, the energy saving with the supporting documents. Then I can request the issuing of a white certificate. And this is the product of the secondary market. So this product can be sold between different obliged or delegates, can be sold. And the price is, again, free. But you need to communicate to us that the white certificate have change of owner. So the demand, when you can sell it, are other obliged parties or other delegates. And at the end, this is not a market. This is us, the public administration. We settle the white certificate, right? The price, one again, is free. And when you settle the white certificate, obviously there is not any price. It's just the settlement of the white certificate. So these are both different markets. And in between, we have the figure of the verificator, the verifier, who is the one who checks that this product converts in that other product. Okay, let's check a little bit more in detail what's the product. The product for both markets at energy savings all certificates. The unit of measurement, is 1 kilowatt hour per year. This is in the primary market, and this converts into one certificate. Each certificate corresponds to 1 kilowatt hour per year. The price, we have seen it, is free, although it's less than the financial equivalence that we will see later. And what are the eligible actions? Almost everything. I mean, there are excluded some companies just in the primary energy sector, refineries, electricity production, these kind of things. But in principle, everything that can be done in the industry, in buildings, in transport, is subject of white certificates. So we have a catalog of actions. The reason for this catalog, let's start for the singular actions. The singular actions are usually very big industrial actions that are different one from each other. And the verification, the verifier needs to do a strong, expensive work in order to verify that this singular action is done. But there are many actions that are more or less always the same, and we can put simple formulas in order to ease and to make cheaper the verification of these actions. And these are the standard actions. So we have a catalog of these standard actions. In France, the pioneers of the system, they have more than 200 sheets. At this moment, we have something more than 50 sheets. Of course, we are working in order to have more and to improve what we have, but this is the current situation. And, well, you know this, the certificate process is first to verify that the savings and the supporting document is correct. Then the issuing is in charge of the regional authorities, Catalonia in this case, at the request of the obligated party or the delegate. They can purchase or sell the certificate to other, if I have purchasing more certificates that I need, then I can sell to other obliged party who has more, who has less than they need. No? So there is some space for purchasing and selling. And finally, we, the ministry, settle the certificates against the obligation of the obliged party. We will see this later. It's quite simple. This is the aspect of a sheet. It's, as you say, very, very simple. Usually 1, 2, 3 sheets with some annexes. There is always one annex just for our accounting in order to understand whether this is a regulatory tool to improve energy efficiency, but it's compatible with subsidies and other incentives. So we need to know whether an action have received more than one incentive just in order not to account 2, 3 times for the same action from different. So we need one technical annex in order to know whether you have received any other subsidy or whatever from other regional or national or municipal authority in order to account our systems, but it's very simple. And then we need a declaration. Oh, sorry, this is the affidavit, the sworn declaration or responsible declaration. And then you have some technical annex. For instance, in Spain, we have very different climate regions. So if you are going to insulate an envelope of a building, we need to know what is your climate area, and we need to know the degree days of your point exactly. So there are some technical annexes, for instance, in this sheet, in order to know the degree days depending on where you are. These are the chapters of the sheet. Let's say the title of the sheet, energy saving action definition, the scope, the exact definition of what it is and what is not. The requisites, there are some sheets in which, for instance, you need a register of liquid flow, for instance, because this is in the formula. So if you don't have the register, we cannot believe your word. No? We need that official register. Then the fourth point is just the formula, the calculation. How should you calculate the energy saved? Then we have just a table in order to write the result of the calculation, and then a list of the support and documentation. The covenant, which relates original owner of the saving with the owner of the certificate, the figures and the result of the energy saving calculation, other supporting documents in relation to the flow, for instance, invoices, pictures, declarations. We have tried to have as less documents as possible in order to liaise. These are the summary of the sheets that we have. It's not 3 sheets there. There are more than 3, but this is just a summary. You know? Then for the tertiary sector, we have a lot of sheets in buildings related to the tertiary sector, not only, but we have building envelope. There is the organizations who participated in the sheets development. It has been a very, very, very open process with a lot of associations. Catalonia has also participated a lot in the sheets development. And then building envelope, equipment for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning as well, renovation of generators, climate generations, chillers, deep renovation of buildings, lighting, and control and automation, basically building automation and control systems. We have many sheets in this point. And residential is very similar. There are some differences. Once again, building envelopes, thermal solar energy in the roofs, only when they are not compulsory, because if it's compulsory, we cannot incentivize that. Substitution of boilers for heat pumps, or heat pumps for heat pumps that are less efficient. Deep renovations, once again, appliances, efficient appliances, and once again, control and automation of buildings. And not finally, in the industrial sector, we have a lot of sheets for chilling, compressors, thermal systems, industrial insulation of pipes and boilers and reactors, pumping and other. No? And we have very few sheets yet for the transport sector. We have just two sheets, but we are working in more. It's interesting because, in fact, Spain, the main energy spender in Spain is the transport. Usually in Spain, in Europe, sorry, are the buildings, but in Spain is the transport. Okay. This is perhaps one of my biggest concerns. How is the primary market going to operate, to perform? No? So we have like 3 different actors: the energy efficiency owner, the saver, the intermediate, and the demand, no? the right party or the delegate. So as I said before, usually the energy saver many times don't have the management ability, negotiation ability, the knowledge to perform in this market. No? So he needs to be informed of the incentive, because one of the obligations of this system is that he can receive, or he needs to receive some incentive to convey its savings. These incentives can be in terms of money, in terms of discount of any price, or in terms of additional service that I have for free because I have offered you my savings. Then we hope, or we expect that intermediates have this management negotiation capacity, and of course they need to be informed to the final saver about the incentives. And of course, the demand knows everything. He has all the abilities, the biggest utilities, they have all the abilities. And then what should I do if I am in this process of intermediate? First, to forecast what's going to be the amount of energy that I'm going to have at the end, the amount of energy saved that I'm going to have at the end of the year. With this forecast, I should contact and negotiate with other intermediates, or with an obliged party, or with a delegate. And I should negotiate a price the time of the payment, perhaps the right party want to have some warranty. This is outside the public administration, but and then I should manage all the process, the calculation, the information, the documents, in order to, when I have signed with the obliged party, for instance, to have all the process in order to supply the energy savings. From my personal perspective, it's very important the private platforms that are being created in order to ease all these markets. No? But there are some associations that are also interested in supply services in this process. But this is perhaps the first stone of the building, no? To gather all the savings and to offer it and to negotiate with an obliged party or a delegate in order to sell these savings. Well, if you still don't understand the white certificate systems in Spain, probably this is the last opportunity to do so. The current situation before was that the energy suppliers, the energy companies, had to pay a yearly amount of money to the state. And with this amount of money, we created the Fondo Nacional de Eficiencia Energética, which stands in English is Energy Efficiency National Fund, the other way around. And with this fund, we offered subsidies just for energy efficiency. And with these energy efficiency actions, we justified to the European Commission that we were fulfilling our obligations in relation to the Energy Efficiency Directive. So what's the situation now, and what's the financial equivalence I told before? Now the situation is that if I'm an obliged party, I can do the same if I want before. The amount of money that they pay is related to the energy that they sell. And considering that at the end of the day, we save energy, there is a relation between the amount of money that they pay and the energy that they save. And this relation is the financial equivalence I told before. I mean, this now is 167 euros per megawatt hour. This is the equivalent. So if this is cheaper, I will do so. But I have a new alternative, the white certificates, to save money doing the same. Then, considering that at the end of the day, I need to demonstrate some energy saving quantity, I have the alternative not to pay the money, but to certify that I am responsible for these energy saving initiatives. So I can delegate my obligation if I want, it's the same, but at the end of the day, I have to identify and to support energy efficiency actions that will generate a certificate. With this certificate, we all fulfill our annual obligations, and we justify that to Europe, right? So nowadays, the obliged parties have the opportunity to select which alternative do they want, and usually they have both. They 100% here and 90% there, or the other way around. Now there is one compulsory limit. This is maximum 40% this year. But the price at that point is going to be expensive, more expensive every year. And the cap here is going to disappear finally, probably. So of course, it's going to be higher and higher. Probably it will disappear. So we think that in some years, this will be the only option, probably. And just to finish, next steps. What are we doing now? A lot of things. Well, first, we are rolling the systems. We have started this year. We know that there are a lot of movement in the primary market, but we are just finishing the process to accredit the verifiers and the delegates. And before the 1st of December, the white certificates that need to be liquidated this year need to be issued. So we have a lot of actions in the next weeks. Perhaps in the future we will have auctions that are are considered in the decree, but not in the upcoming months, not in the next year probably. We are going to consider, we are doing so nowadays, to prepare the consideration of accumulative savings, not savings per year, which is quite unfair. In France, for instance, they do in that way. And we are going to improve the measurement in some seats. I'm not going to enter into the detail because I'm out of time. And just in relation to the catalog, we are working in new seats, of course. We expect to have, I don't know, 100 more seats at the end of this year. And it's going to be very interesting to study the statistical data provided by these seats. And perhaps at some point, we will introduce also weighting factors, because at this moment, it's the same, some energy saved from electricity than from gas, for instance. No? Which is not fair, probably. No? So perhaps we will introduce some factors to introduce, for instance, the CO2 emissions effect of the energy saved into the system. And I'm 3 minutes after mine, I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Guillermo. So until now, we had 2 presentations, right, that were talking about regulations, energy efficiency, European directive. I think that the third coming up will actually give you more insights as well on what are the innovations in the regulation system. And yep, so welcome to Luis Mouret, Head of the Energy Saving and Efficiency Area of the Institut Català de l'Energia, ICAEN. Welcome.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody, and thanks for being here. First, I will want to thank Spacewell to make such an event. It's very important for us to communicate and to share the major challenge that we have ahead. This challenge is called carbon neutrality, and it's really huge, really difficult for everybody. How we need everybody to work together. We need companies, we need citizens, and we need public administrations to do this change. And also, we need to leave no one behind. And this is very important, and it's repeated in all the regulation, in all the directives, in all the European paper that you can see. It's always this principle of having no one behind. This aspect is very relevant and makes things even harder. The entire society then must do this change. And someone will lead, another will be forced, and others will need to be helped. And we have to make all together, because the challenge, as I said, is really hard. My presentation, I think, is really relevant for all you, the energy management buildings and the companies that help buildings managers. Because for me, building sector is the key for the energy transition. Let me explain myself. If I think about the transport sector, we can all think about the technology that is already here and that will provoke this change. So we change every car, the vans, trucks, whatever you can think about. We change it every more or less 10 years in Spain, and we will go to electric mobility. Then we have the energy consumption and the emissions solved because of the electrification of the sector. If we think about the industrial sector, then we can see that there is a very great professionals in Spain. And these great professionals are very used to regulatory changes, are very used to improve always, to make things better, because they need to compete and they need to adapt to all these things. So we have that the industrial sector as well, it's very prepared for what is coming. I'm not saying that it's easy, but for me, the key part is the building sector, because it's the most complicated scenario. And why is the most complicated scenario? Because it's a high energy sector. We can see in all the numbers that Europe is giving, but also it's very atomized. We have many buildings. We have many others. We have many management that is driving these buildings. And also, there is a major challenge. We are not talking about the buildings as they used to be. We told that the buildings have to change to energy generation energy. We are not only consuming. We are changing, and we need the buildings to get ready for charging all the vehicles, all the transport. We also need the buildings to become batteries. We need to keep all the energy in these buildings, and we want this because we also ask the buildings to act in the demand response market and to enter into the market, in the electricity market, that it's not at all easy. So we are asking a lot to a sector that is, for me, not well prepared, and we need to help it and to do a lot of effort in that sector. So this will be my presentation. I will focus on 3 major issues: where we come from and why Europe is demanding us all this big challenge. And I will join a little bit the first presentation of Pablo, and I will also quote or say things about KS system, and I will try to put it all together in the following minutes. Where are we? In this picture, you can see, and I'm not saying anything new, we are in a climate emergency. And this is the motivation. This is what really is making and is changing everything. And the usual question is that if it is too late, and if we have burdened the wall for the next generation. And this is what is doing or motivating, promote all the change that we are seeing in Europe. So all the movement that we are looking at, it's because of that. A proof of that maybe it's too late, we can see in the first report of warning of climate change is from 1988, 25 years ago. So we can say more or less that all of us knew where we are going to. And we can think about the other big data that we can know. It's Paris 2050. And maybe it's the setting point, it's the first roadmap that is settled. But this climate change hasn't arrived suddenly. We know it. It's not from last year. Right now, in 2020, appeared the European Green Deal. And this is a policy initiative to speed up transition. So we are talking more or less about ideas to get towards net zero greenhouse emission. In just 1 year, we have the Fit for 55 package that knowing what is happening, knowing how is all the sectors, they see, or Europe see, that there are some strong, we need to focus in some strong green transition to achieve this goal. We have really to focus in some points that are really the key to reduce this 55% of greenhouse gas emissions. And this fall, during this winter, and as Pablo already said, there are some directives that are being approved, that are being published, and we can see that you are coming from the ideas, the last years, and we are arriving to transform this into laws in the member states. So we are coming from the ideas to regulations. We need to arrive at a point that we will have to force people to achieve several goals. In Catalonia, we have also recently published a study to see if we are going to be able to do this change. So we published the ProEncat 2050 to see how Catalonia is going to be able to arrive to this major challenge in 2050. The conclusions are three important points. The first one, we need a strong decline in final energy consumption that is totally in line with Europe is asking. The second key point that we all must know is that we need to electrify the economy. So everything. We need to electrify whatever is possible, because with this electrification, we can take advantage of the third step, that is promote at maximum the renewable energies, so we can use electric energy that comes from renewable sources to all the economy. As you can see in the graphic as well, at least in Catalonia, we more than double the energy that we will need. And as you also can see, the two major sectors that are increasing is the industrial one, because we need to transform from fossil fuels to electrification, so they will increase the electrification. And in blue, you can see how the transport changes from fossil fuels to electricity. But I insist, the key point are buildings. Building is when we need buildings 100% electrified and where the major changes are being asked. So it's where, for me, really is the problem and where we have to focus. What are the conclusions for us? First of all, is that all this is possible. If not, maybe we will not be here talking about this. It's possible. It's an important change, it's difficult, but we can have it. So we have achieved this energy-related climate neutrality by 2050. What do we need? A 100% renewable, efficient, and competitive energy sector with battery power accumulation, that it is still not here. We have the batteries, but we have very few examples or projects with this battery power accumulation that will be needed the following years. Heat pump, it will have a disruptive role in buildings and industry. So we'll need this technology, and we need this to arrive to all new buildings. That is the easy case, but we need to put this technology in all the existing buildings. That is a little bit more complicated, but we hope that thanks to guys, we will try to put all this technology in the buildings. Electric vehicle will be introduced massively, because when we are changing vehicle, I guess that all of us, at least, we ask ourselves if the next one will be electrical. And we hope that the answer is yes. And train, that we also always have problems here, then we have to intensify it. So we need all these investments in Catalonia that we need for train, for persons, and also for products. Industrial sector, we need it with a high energy efficiency. I'm not worried because industrial sector works to be more competitive, so it's the aim of their work. But we need them to use as much as electricity possible, because this electricity will be renewable, and this is what is helping us. And we are making change in the regulation to have a new electricity market that it had to be developed, and here we need a little bit more of regulation. For the first time, we can see, or we can say, that administration, citizens and companies, we have to work all together, and we need all to work together to achieve this goal. So it's not just the work of some of them. Some data, because for me, I will focus on buildings. Buildings represent this 30% of final energy consumption in Spain. It almost represents 30% of direct and indirect greenhouse gas emissions, and it also represents this 20% of gas consumption in Spain. It is, as well, as I'm saying, is a key point, a pillar of the transition in the Energy Europe directive that has been approved recently. And in Spain, we have the numbers that you can see on the right, that 80% of all the energy performance certificates that we have for buildings, and nowadays there are quite a lot, are qualifications from E to G, so the worst one. And only 0.3% of the qualifications, of the EPC qualifications, are the label A. So we can say that we have an aging building stock, and this is because a poor culture of maintenance and investment. So we really need to focus what we can do here. A little bit more data. All the buildings in Spain are older, or 50% of these buildings are built before 1980, where there were no energy regulations in the sector. I also here always say that the first interesting regulations, the technical code in Spain, is from 2006. If we take all these years, we can say that at around 80% of the buildings, we can say that they have very poor insulation. So they are not prepared for this climate emergency. I'm talking about winter and summer as well. So both are really important these days. What about renovation of the buildings? We have hundreds, thousands of millions right now to promote renovation with a lot of programs, but still today, the data that we have from these problems, it's not meeting the expectation. Only 30,000 of buildings are being renovated. When we talk about PNIEC, more or less the number that were expected are 200,000 or 300,000. So only 10% of what is needed is being done. And if we compare Spain to other countries, we see that the renovation rate of all the sector, all the buildings, are this 0.11% instead of 2% that we have in countries like France, Austria, Slovakia, Norwegian, sorry. So we have all these data. It could, I also have to mention that the administration have to lead a lot of things because Europe wants us to be an example for a lot of sectors, and the public sector is responsible for this 5–10% of the union's energy consumption. I will put a little bit more of data. I hope it's the last one, but this is really important as well, that in Europe, 50% of all energy consumed is used for heating and cooling. So it's really a big amount of energy, and 70% of this is still coming from fossil fuels. So it's really a key point to make a change. And in the residential sector, 80% of this energy is used for space. So heat pumps, this disruptive technology, and we also have to take into account that there is a phase-out of boilers by 2029 because of the eco-design rules. So it will really provoke a lot of massive change in the buildings from boilers to heat pumps, and we also hope that this system of CAE system will help to do this, because right now, with the grants that we have, if you do this change, a lot of times it's not worth, or because you are not achieving the energy savings that you need to go into the program, or because all the paperwork that you have to do is so immense, so big, that people don't get the motivation to ask for these grants. Now, with the system CAEs, we hope that all this will change, and that all these little projects that are making savings, not a lot, but a lot of them are making, we can take all, we can aggregate all of them, and we can see this change. In the directive, there is this important principle of energy efficiency first. And I would like to highlight it because this last month, maybe years, it seems that everything will be solved only by generating energy with renewable energy. This is not enough. And it's in the regulation, it's in the directive that energy efficiency first. And this is a principle that must be everywhere. As Pablo said, and we would like to highlight, it should be even in the financial sector. If you want money to invest, you have to demonstrate that is energy efficiency first. And we have to take into account that this energy efficiency should be applied whenever they are more cost-effective than other solutions. But this is not easy. When is more cost-effective? And this is one of the things that I would like to share these days or this morning with you, that we need a lot of data. We need software, we need professionals, we need to measure, we need to know where these energy savings potential are. We need professionals that convince the owners of the buildings where all this is, and then we need to apply. We need to invest in these projects so we can see the results and we have these energy savings. So to fulfill this directive, we really need to put a lot of knowledge in a sector that maybe we are not used to have it. There is not so many professionals, and in the buildings, maybe there is not so the culture of promoting or competitive for the energy savings of the buildings. Another important thing that is being said in the Energy Efficiency Directive, and it's just a note, because later Joan will explain much more better than me and further all these concepts, is this demand-side flexibility and talking about local communities and energy communities. They are really interesting, and we need everything. We need also this in this new scheme. And here, the local communities are important because they can do this self-shared energy consumption. They can have a lot of energy savings and economical saving. They know how to share this knowledge. If we have a community, there will be people that know a lot and people that know less. But if we put all them together and they share a project, the project will be bigger. So all these energy savings, economic saving, all that you can really do, it's bigger. So these same local communities can promote all these electric vehicles. They can train the members of the community. They can share thermal energy that we were usually talking always about electricity, but there is a potential for thermal energy sharing, and it's important to have this in mind. So at the end, it will be a winning for everybody, from energy and also for economical. The buildings and the charging infrastructure. The energy efficiency is highlighting this as well. And it seems easy just to put a plug in the parking site so you can charge vehicles. But this is not what we need. This is not what we want. What we want is these buildings to become batteries. We need this for this energy response market. We need this for the flexibility. We need that all the batteries are being visible and available because we need enterprise, professional, that can see these batteries and can act with the market, with the electric market. So we need professionals that know when is a good moment to charge a vehicle. We need these professionals to know which vehicle I have to charge first and why. We need at what cost it will mean, because we always think about money. Not all the people that use the car will pay the same because maybe of the hour, maybe I have solar energy, maybe I'm in a rush and I need more energy or faster. So we need to know, to have all this data on how much energy I'm putting everywhere. So it's not just an installation that you go in a parking site and you do an electrical job. It means that you need software, you need professionals, you need people that can control this and can handle this so that it is useful for the system. And when we do this, it will be more efficient, more energy efficiency for the system, and as well, it will be saving money for the citizens and who is using this. Last point from this directive is that asking again to talk about energy audits. And I say it this way because energy audits have been here for decades. We have been implementing them, and we have been, in ICANN, revising them a lot of times. But they are being done, and most of the time, they're not arriving to anywhere else. So we are not applying them. We are not achieving, doing the projects to have the energy savings. And now we are not only asking this to the major enterprise, we are also asking this for the small and medium-sized enterprise. So it's still getting bigger. And we need all these savings. Since now we can do the audit and we can do nothing. But now we need enterprise, everyone, to do these projects. Because we need these savings to, I remember the first of the presentation, because we're in a climate emergency. We need this, or we don't know which wall we will left to our next generation. I also hope that CAES here will be a key point, because now all the energy savings become money. And you can like it more or less, but money is what moves the world. So if we can transform these energy savings into money, someone that sees these energy audits in just on looking and seeing only a project and an investment, I hope that they will see an economic project and they will be more motivated to really do all these projects. Let's move on to the Energy Performance Building Directive. This is not approval. This is not, but it is being negotiated, and it will arrive in the several weeks, months, and we hope it will arrive this year. And it's also very important because we are changing. It is changing how the buildings are getting seen. We are moving from nearly zero energy buildings to completely zero emission. This is a major challenge, a major change again. So we are taking into account all the carbon embodied in the materials. We are taking into account not only the use of the building, that maybe here, that you are energy management buildings, we are making bigger your scope. We are looking at everything. So the building that maybe was great using energy, now it will have another label that it will take into account how it has been built and how it will be unbuilt. So you have to take all this into account, and it will change the market. And we will visualize this because of the global warming potential. That is a new indicator that will come the next years, and it will take into account all the life cycle of the building. So more pressure, more work for the building site. Really, again, for me, the key part of all this transition. And it seems normal, but it is not normal. Putting a minimal energy performance for buildings, it's really new. All of you have seen the energy performance certificate, so all of you have seen the label that you have from your building, and nobody cares at all. It's just a document to buy or to rent, and that's all. I'm sure that nobody of you have read what it says. But now, what they are asking for us, if you have a bad letter, you will have to make a renovation. We are forcing this renovation. If the renovation is not coming, we will force. I like to say always that Europe has a lot of common sense. It's not for everybody, or it will not come for everybody. It will be when there is an economical activity, it will make slowly. Remember the principle of leaving no one behind. So it will be all the bad that you can imagine to make it slowly and to make it for everybody. But it's really the first minimum energy performance. So it will help all the building sector to move forward. And here have the data where it will become. Energy efficiency certificate, this energy performance certificate. We have a problem. Every state member has their energy performance certificate. When Europe tried to compare them, it's impossible. And this is a major problem. I don't know who exactly said it, but all the directives right now are getting a little bit more detailed because at the end, every state member goes in a direction, and then we have a problem. We can compare what's happening in the building sector in all Europe. So if all of us need to move forward, if these directives have some goals that are for all the state members, all the member states, how can we go forward if we can know who is doing things better or worse? So in this directive, there is a review of the scales, and then they're trying to harmonize the APC, so we can compare the building sector everywhere. We are changing as well the label. A will mean zero emissions buildings, so the top, and G will mean the 50% threshold of worst buildings. And then there will be some requirements of saying, in the several years, this 50%, you need to move it forward. So they will push from back, trying to move to the buildings to the better levels. And there will be a reduction of the validity of these certificates, because now it's 10 years, so you will have to validate it again every 5 years, so you will see if the building is really going forward or not. So big changes. And this is not enough. If we want to move all these huge amount of buildings that we have 80%, remember, from E to G, we are asking them from nothing, from today, you have to move tomorrow and becoming this building that you have to charge vehicle, you have to be a battery, you have to be zero emissions, so you have to change your boilers for heat pumps, you have to insulate, you have to do everything in just one project, in just it's impossible. So there is a big leap that people or citizens can understand, and it's not possible to do, and it's too difficult. So what is asking or is giving us the energy performance building is a tool that it will be this passport, that it will be a roadmap that you can renovate your building for phases with a professional that will guide you to arrive at 2050 with these energy zero emissions buildings. This is what really won. And something interesting as well for you is this smart readiness indicator. So it is a new indicator that it will give information if the building can sense, can interpret, can communicate, and can adapt the building to what is really happening inside and outside the building. So they want to know with this EPC, it will be an indicator to know if this building is smart. Because if it's smart, it's easy to do some things with. It will be a better level. It will be an information that is really interesting if someone wants to rent it or want to buy it. Because it means that with little effort, you can increase a lot this building. And this smart readiness, at the end, they want to optimize energy efficiency because it will be faster and cheaper, and they want to adapt the operation of the building to the occupancy and to signals from the grid. Here we will go to Joan in this flexible demand response. We will the buildings to work here. And just to finish my conclusions, and I have write them because I don't want to lose them. And the key point for me is that it's a sector where there is nothing new. We have heat pumps, we have batteries, we have electrical vehicle, we have professionals that can do perfectly this, but it's a huge sector. There are many buildings, many owners, many decisions to be made, but we really need the sector to start doing projects. And we need the sector to have data, to have tools, to have professionals, to being able to go forward, because we really need this sector as well. And times runs against us and against me. So I'm finished here, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Luis. I do hope, actually, that it's not too late for us, just in terms of energy transition and efficiency. And I hope that because we are all here today, gathered, that we will find a way to go through this wonderful project we should actually all implement. Actually, some of you may have seen as well this little pin. I don't know if you have received one. We distributed some at the very beginning. And this is quite related with what you just explained about the evolution, right? And where we actually saw where we will be going in 1988, you said, with the colors. So that's basically the same. We went from the blue. We are going towards the red, like very dark red. So our mission is the same for all of us. Efficiency, right? So we'll continue now the presentation with Joan Herrera, and he's the Director of Environment and Energy at El Prat de Llobregat City Council. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. And you will be discussing the role of energy communities, interaction between citizens, companies, and local authorities. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here with you. It's a pleasure to be with us as well, and it's a pleasure because it's my neighborhood where I grew up. I have came several times with my son here to this museum a couple of years ago. Today he's a teenager. He doesn't want to come with me. So it's really a pleasure to be with you and to share, well, the idea of the energy communities. I want to speak about one idea, the collaborative culture in efficiency energy strategies, and one tool, energy communities. I think it's important because if we speak about the sectors, we have the large consumers. Normally, they have energy efficiency actions. They have, it, insufficient cover. They have a weekday consumption, normally doesn't consume on weekends, and attitude of sufficiency in their energy strategies. Most of you work with these large consumers. But, whoops, if you see in the other side of the street, you have a logistic area. And the logistic area, they have large roofs, they have a large potential photovoltaic, a low consumption, but a lack of incentives for the use of the roofs. You can see here the picture. They have a small area for PV because they don't need more. And they have a lack of concern for energy consumption because they don't have problems about that. You have a third actor, the domestic sector. The domestic sector has normally low consumption if you compare with the industrial sector. They have bad and few covers, concentration of consumption on weekends, and inflexibility of the demand curve. Here you can see the picture, a city with a logistic area, maybe some industrial area too. And at the end, you have the small and medium-sized companies, the store, restaurants, high consumption, inflexible demand, difficulty in savings and efficiency strategies. They are small or medium companies, and a practical impossibility of self-consumption. They don't have roofs. We can do a strategy for each sector, but my proposal is that we have a strategy for the 4 sectors. And how can we do? Well, if we engage, connect, associate, relate domestic sector, large consumer, small and medium-sized companies, logistics area, what are we most interested in? No? In a culture of collaborative efficiency energy, we can't use the roof of the logistic area for the large consumer. On weekend, we can provide to the domestic sector, and obviously the small and medium-sized companies can be provided by energy services. Not just share self-consumption. Saving is important too. Efficiency is the first question that we have to do. What tools do we have? We have two kinds of communities, energy communities, you know it. We have the renewable energy community and the citizen energy community. And in my point of view, it's very important that a collaborative economy is always is better than strictly a competitive culture. And we have the tools, the energy communities. We have 2 directives, you know. The first directive, the directive of the use of energy from renewable sources. And here we have a renewable energy community. And it's important that they have an open and voluntary participation. It's autonomous. And it's very important to know that in this case, they have to be controlled by members that are located in the proximity. The members have to be natural persons, municipalities, local authorities, and small and medium companies. And the primary purpose is provide environmental, economic, or social community benefits. We have other kind of community, the citizen energy community, and it has some different aspects that I'd like to speak about. Obviously, it's based on voluntary and open participation, and it's effectively controlled by members that are natural persons, local authorities, municipalities, obviously, and small companies. What's the difference? In the renewable energy community, it's located in the proximity of the renewable energy projects. And a big company can't be membership of this kind of community. But in this community, a big company can be a membership. They can't have the effective control, but a big company can be a member. Obviously, its primary purpose is to provide environmental, economical, or social benefits to its members. And it's an energetic actor. May engage in generation, distribution, supply, consumption, aggregation, energy storage, energy efficiency services. It's very important to know it, because if the core elements is citizen participation, open and voluntary, provide environmental, economic, or social benefits, and it's an energetic player, can you imagine a better tool to create a collaborative culture in efficiency energy? I can't. I will give you an example. It's the city where I work, in El Prat de Llobregat. It's a medium city, 65,000 inhabitants. We have industrial sector, SEAT, DAM. We have logistics sector, a lot of logistics sector. Well, we have the airport, the port. We have a domestic sector. And the question is, how can we improve a holistic strategy in the city? Because the small and medium companies, they don't have efficiency and energy strategy. The big companies, yes, they have it. The domestic sector, working class people, most of them, they don't have energy strategy. So we just begin with share self-consumption, because in my point of view, the energy community is more than self-share consumption. But with share self-consumption, we can work with domestic sector, industry, logistic, more industry, and today we have a radio of 2 kilometers. 2 kilometers, like in France, like in Portugal, for share self-consumption. And we don't have to pay tolls or charges for consume this energy. And it's important. Well, today is 2 kilometers in France. Last week, for the energy communities, is 10 kilometers in domestic area and 20 kilometers in rural area. It's important to know it. The energy community, so in my point of view, is the instrument for building a culture of energy collaboration. But we have been speaking about share self-consumption, but we can do flexibility more with flexibility markets, aggregation markets, storage strategies, and for the deployment of share electricity mobility. It's important to know it. Here is, you have the Energia del Prat. Energia del Prat is our energy community in El Prat de Llobregat. And we are leading energy community that provides services to the whole municipality, citizens, business, industry. It's created to offer these energy services. Well, and in this energy community, the city council has the 40%. It's important because when the city council is a membership of the energy community, you have different relationship with the rest of the people. They have more confidence, maybe. They know that you are not going to do a business. And it's important in energy issues. We have private investors, 40%, and we have 20% for users association. You can be a user, you don't have to do an investment, but you will be part of the energy community, open and voluntary. Well, it's a solution. But obviously, you can do energy communities with just domestic and industrial sector, or with just industrial and logistics sector in, in different places. We are beginning with the share self-consumption, but we are going to provide more services. I will speak about it after. Well, if you want to do your investment in Europe, you can do it, and we are going to buy the surpluses to share with other participants. But if you don't want to do the investment, you can give us an agreement for the transfer of the right to use the surface in favor of Energia del Prat, and in this case, Energia del Prat makes the investment, no? It's very important to know that here, today, now in Spain, we don't have a legal mark. Well, we have the definition that it has been incorporated in the electric sector law. We have subsidies, we have it with the se implementa. In fact, the se implementa is the law right. We know the rules to create an energy community for the subsidies, for the for the se implementa. And we have a draft of Royal Decree transposing the directives that has been made public, but we don't have it yet because today we don't have an effective government, like you know. we'll have in a couple of months. The key question is the concretization of the favorable legal framework, because the directives speak about the favorable legal framework, and it's very important to know. In the future, well, in the future, we are going to be in a different scenario. Here you have the California's duck curve is dipping deeper than ever. And it is what is happening in California, 2015, 2021, midday solar saturation, low prices. And it's a problem, a big problem. It's happening in Spain several weekends. It's going to happen in 2 years, 3 years, because the PNIEC is going well. And it shouldn't be a problem. And if we don't want that it will be a problem, with a high price volatility, with massive incorporation of renewable energy sources, if now we have generation, distribution, marketing is not this supply, well, we need a flexibility and electricity aggregation markets. And it's very important, and since September 2024, it will be possible to operate in aggregation markets. What can we do if we have an energy community? Well, no consumption, higher consumption, depending on the time that they can be offered. They will pay for it. Until now, aggregation markets were limited to supply companies. But now, with 1 megawatt, you can operate in this kind of markets. So if I have an energy community, maybe with a logistic with flexibility capacity with just 50 kilowatts, medium company with flexibility capacity with 500 kilowatts, they can't operate in aggregation market. But if I put industry, logistic, stores, domestic, I can offer to the citizens, to domestic, to small and medium companies, obviously to the industry and logistic, be part of the flexibility and aggregation market. And it's very important, but because in a country like Spain, where we are having more renewable resources, and when we are going to have that curve, obviously, it's very important to provide to the market and to provide to industry, logistic, domestic stores, be part of the aggregation markets. So it's important, the paper of the energy communities, because they can provide it. Finally, we have a target, industry sectors, industry, logistic, domestic sectors. We have companies, small and medium and companies and local authorities. But the most important thing is, in my point of view, that you can provide a lot of services: invoicing, storage, self-consumption, aggregation, share electric mobility, heating and cooling equipment. Here, we have several problems in summers. The problem is not heating, it's cooling. And today, with Energia del Prat, we are changing gas boilers for aerothermal services. And the most important thing when we speak with the people is the saving, obviously. But the second thing is that they need to sleep in summer. Summer, you know, here in Barcelona is until October. And maybe in a couple of years or in 10 years will be until November. So, how can I join the company that provide aerothermal services with the domestic sector, giving low prices to put your aerothermia, just with a collaborative efficiency culture? So that's I wanted to explain you, and I think that you have the challenge to provide a lot of services for this important tool, the energy communities, to lead an efficiency energy strategy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joan. Actually, that was pretty much interesting as well to talk about the communities, because in our department in marketing, we are very keen on as well bringing awareness, right? And the awareness doesn't go only towards other companies, it also goes to people. We have to actually bring people together to understand what is the main goal, what we are actually producing, and what we want to change. And by local communities as well, energy communities, you go not towards only the companies themselves or whatever, it's also the people that you need to touch, and you need to teach them as well, and to show them the way. So it's really nice to see that collaborative work can bring us all together to improve the whole situation where we're going, you know. That means, thank you very much for that. It was very nice to know that we are aligned, and that we love to bring this awareness. So for now, what we're going to do is to bring you all up here for a 20 minutes Q&A session, okay? And so if you want, dear speakers, sorry for the little sports steps, ups and downs. And after the Q&A session, we will finally have a little breakfast, okay? So we have vendor machines, if you are hungry. No? Nobody wants? Okay. So we will have some real break. No, Neil, we will have a real break, I promise, with coffee and stuff. Thank you. The microphones? Okay. So, does someone wants to? Oh, we have one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's a question for Joan. How about the private investor in the energy community? Because it's always really difficult just for me to see a collaboration agreement with municipality and private investors. If you could explain us how are you achieving that, main terms and conditions or whatever. And then another one from Guillermo, if there is time. I don't really understand the sujeto delegado figure, because we have the intermediates on the system. Why you create this figure? Thank you.
The investors, well, we did a process of licitación of
Tendering.
tendering.
Tender.
And sorry. And well, all people or investors that wanted to be memberships of the energy community can be part. The municipality gives part of the investment. The municipality gives the investment for the users association, and the rest are, well, small, medium companies. We thought that one big company was going to be a membership, but finally they didn't. And, well, we did this tendering. But there are many different ways to do it, because in some other cases they have done cooperatives. I am thinking in Usona, no? You have a lot of energy communities. In my point of view, a cooperative is a good alternative in a small village, but in a big village it's very difficult, the way of a cooperative, because in this case, no, the municipality has the same participation than maybe a small store. It's not normal, no? In other cases, they have created the energy community and the municipality both participation each other way. But the most important thing is that we have an architecture of energy issues, energy efficiency, because you create a new atmosphere in the municipality and in the city with energy community, no? But so in our case, we did it with a tendering way, and it's difficult because you have to speak a lot with the secretary, well, los altos cuerpos del Estado, no? In the municipality, but we did it. And it's a good way to speak about it, but it's difficult because you know that here in Spain we are having a lot of problems with the self-share consumption, well, at least in Catalonia, no? In this area. It's true. And I know that share self-consumption is not an energy community, but for the beginning it's very important because you can create the most important thing of the share self-consumption, in my point of view, is not supply energy. It's the app creating energy culture at home. No, really. And the problem is, you know, that here in Catalonia we have a big delay to legalize all this kind of share self-consumption.
Okay, thank you for the question. The delegate, in fact, was a figure created in France. It's very regulated in Spain and in France as well, and it's very linked to the obliged party because they found in France that some obliged parties didn't pay interest enough to participate in the white certificate system because they don't have resources, own resources, in order to participate in this field. They are earning a lot of money with other things. So, and then with the delegated parties, these obliged parties were activated. These are the delegated parties. They are very regulated. They need to. I mean, it's in the legislation, no? But it's not easy. You have to be a big company and to have a lot of technical resources if you want to be a delegate. The intermediate is not linked to the obliged party, but to the final citizen. Let's say, for instance, if I buy a washing machine and it's very efficient, I'm owner of that energy saving, so I can call, for instance, Repsol, which is the first Spanish company, and I can ask, no, okay, I have some energy saving, so let's negotiate. Obviously, I don't have a telephone to call. And it's me who work in the energy field, but if it's my father or my mother, obviously they don't need to know anything about this because then there are many energy saving actions where the final consumers, the final citizen, is not prepared to know about this, let's say, quite complex legislation and how to. So the intermediates, they don't have any legal requirement. They are, let's say, informal, but many times they are key actors in order to gather all these savings and then to negotiate with an obliged party or a delegate. The only thing is that, for instance, with the example of the washing machine, the final consumer needs to know that he has received an incentive. How to do that? It's free, but we always say that as simple as possible. For instance, if I have a discount, this washing machine costs 500 euros, but now it's 450 because it's incentivized by the Royal Decree 36, etc. Then I have this information. It's quite simple. I don't receive it because previously, when, for instance, with appliances, when we have subsidies to appliances, it was really a mess because you receive something and then when you made your personal taxation the year after, you need to consider this an income, and it was crazy just for 20 euros. So, So if you consider that as a discount, you don't need to do anything. It's very simple, and then the intermediate. So to wrap up, intermediate is linked to small consumers, and delegate are linked to obliged parties.
Good morning. Thank you for the talk today. I would like to ask Guillermo about the Guillermo about the KAI market spot, the price, how you are looking forward the 3 years that are on the March buoy was almost supposed to endure this KAI system. And also, I would like to know the auctions by the government. What kind of system mechanics are you going to use, or what's the main objective of these auctions on the system KAI? Thank you.
Okay. First, related to the price. The price is free, and the only thing that we can do is to follow up the price. So in the covenant that needs to be signed or to be developed between the final citizen or the final company and the obliged party, you need to identify what was the incentive paid to the final saver. So we are going to have this information, and with this information, we will be able to do things. Because as we are working in this system, we have a lot of preventions of fears. So then, for instance, the final demand, the obliged parties are a oligopoly. So imagine, I hope that this is not the case, no? But imagine that they made a cartel and the price is very low. We have a problem. So we are thinking already for possible solutions if that happens. So we have different ways to know the price in the different parts of the market. We will do so, and for us, it's very essential information to achieve fair conditions for everyone, right? And in relation to the auctions, we need to develop a legal new provision to organize that, because at this moment we don't know. Because this is very complex. The whole white certificate system is very complex, and our resources are, as always, very limited. We decided not to perform any auctions soon, let's say. I don't know where is the word soon ends in this case. But we are not going to release any auction in the next months, I don't know, years. And then we really don't know the conditions now, if it's going to be marginal price for everyone, or pay as bid, or we don't know. We really don't know.
Okay. Thank you, the four of you, for your presentations. Maybe my question is to Guillermo, maybe it's too similar to the one that has just been asked. From what I understood of your presentation, is that the obligated parties are interested in paying their obligations via white certificates when these are cheaper than the reference price that you said of 167 euros per megawatt. And yeah, my question was like the price of the white certificate, like how is this built up?
It's, I mean, we don't have any direct influence in the price because we are very used to subsidies, for instance. Then you make a renovation of a building, and then there are some written regulation in which you know how much are you going to receive, more or less, depending on your waste, on your expenditure. Now, this new system is not focusing on your expenditure, but is focusing on the energy you are going to save. And the price is decided by the market, which has good and bad things at the same time. No? One of the bad things is that you don't know the price. You have to negotiate. Perhaps not you, but an intermediate. No? Then companies and intermediates need to negotiate with delegates and obliged parties what are going to be the price. This is one of the bad things, the uncertainty derived from that. The good thing is that the subsidies has two problems. One, well, more than two problems, two big problems, and perhaps. One is that they are very, very complex from the management point of view. Both sides of the river, the state who needs to manage all the process, and also for the companies. Here, the process is much more simple, it's much simpler than that. So we expect a lot of savings from that. And the other big problem for the saving is that they are not flexible at all. I mean, you have one program just for windows in the buildings, for instance. They start in one date, they end in one date. Here you have all the opportunities that you can imagine to save energy. We can make a sheet of whatever you want. And we don't have any problems with deadlines. So you can release or you can ask for an incentive whenever you want. No? So if you look at France, for instance, the price sometimes are in the news because the price rise then decrease and this kind of thing. No? So we expect the same process in Spain, particularly at the beginning, because at the beginning nobody knows. And perhaps we are going to have maybe some turbulences in the first months. But we will reach a known average price for the CAEs. We will have some uncertainties for the future, and we as public administration will work in order to have what we understood as fair prices, right? But we don't know. We cannot provide any figure.
I just wanted to do a quick question. Thank you very much all for being here and all the insights that you share. Thank you very much. Broadening the scope, because we have talked about Europe, Spain, Catalonia, but is it also something applicable, or there are initiatives also in UK, in USA, applying all these needs, urgent needs that we need for the climate?
Difficult to say. I would bet that the UK is more or less similar to Spain, basically, because they have separated from the EU quite recently. So all these compromises and all this culture of efficiency is more or less aligned. The US, frankly, I don't know, because they follow completely different rules. As you know, in the US, what they have is a very strong Inflation Reduction Act, which has a lot of money, which is deployed easier than in Europe, basically because they don't have the culture of the protection of concurrence and the principles that we have for public aids in Europe. So they are more aggressive and they have the firepower to be very competitive. So I don't know if that will be the pace they will follow in the US. Let's see.
Okay, yeah. Because they are also big consumers, and I think that's part of the world. So the world is just one. Yeah.
No, irrigation markets, flexibility markets in UK they are doing a lot of things before than us, obviously.
Hello, thank you to all speakers. Another question about white certificates. Who can receive? Who can be the benefit? Who can benefit in the case? The question is: the public sector can benefit. A hospital, a museum, that can save a lot. Can benefit the white certificates.
Difficult question. As you know, if public entity wants to sell something, energy savings, it's energy savings or whatever, it's really complicated because they have to release a tender or an auction or whatever, and it's a very long process. So as far as we know by now, the only option is to have an energy service contract with an energy service company. And then the owner of the saving is those who make the investment. So if the energy saving company make the investment in the hospital, for instance, that you mentioned, then he or they will be the final savers, the final, let's say, consumers, no? Because they have made the investment. So at this moment, I think that this is the only option, energy service contracts.
One question there.
Thank you all for your presentations. A question for Luis. So you mentioned that member states will encourage energy audits for small and medium enterprises. What do you think will be the mechanisms to promote these energy efficiency audits?
The directive is very recently, and Pablo, I think, has told exactly the kind of enterprise that should do this audit energy. And we also have right now a directive, sorry, it's a Spanish a reglement, the 55 from 2016, that it's the one that the major enterprise are forced to do audits every 4 years. So I guess it will just move the scope of this directive. All these objectives from Europe, we need to see in the several months or years how they arrive in each member state. I'm not from the government, so I don't know how they are going to do it, but if they have a way to do it, I don't know if they will open the scope or they will just copy the system and do this again for this kind of enterprise. At the end of this, for me, and it's also in the directive, they are putting an effort to databases, to share all this information or to share what you can share, because you can share confidential data. But in EPC and all this kind of enterprise, you have to know that for us, for government, it's quite difficult to know which enterprise should do these audits, because it's difficult right now to know, because there are for a parameter, if you have to do it or not, that usually the administration don't have it. So it's difficult to know if you must do it or not, and then if I have to make inspections, and it's quite difficult. If we open the scope, at the end, all enterprise will be inside of it, and it will help. And a big point of that is, as I said, that usually energy audits, they just give information, but you are not forced to do anything. And we need all these potential energy savings to be done. I hope with CAES that now there is a economic motivation to do projects, because you will have a energy advantage, then that this will really move enterprise to do it, not by force, because they are really interested in doing that.
Okay, sorry. So thank you, everyone. If you want to follow up with some more questions, we invite you to go for the break, coffee break. You can enjoy network all together while you're having a coffee, a little sandwich, or a little croissant. Proper French one. Thank you.
Thank you.